This is RTV 6 News at 5:30, working for you.
And now at 5:30, learning new skills. It's a situation many people find themselves in right now in order to get a paycheck. How your donations are making that happen. And beaches closed, the northern Indiana city taking that step to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Chris.
Here's our first look at the lineup. A new debate is reemerging over the federal minimum wage. We are looking at how likely it is for lawmakers to raise minimum wage. Parents are banding together to educate their kids in small groups what they say are the keys to success and how they suggest you can start doing this in your neighborhood. Businesses are showing off their cleaning procedures as they try to assure people it is safe to come back. Why there are concerns, this is creating a false sense of security with COVID-19.
But first at 5:30, an organization that helps provide jobs training for people in underserved communities is getting a little extra help from the United Way COVID Economic Relief Fund. Our TV6 teamed up with the United Way to encourage donations to this fund. Now, Project Azul received about $20,000 to keep helping people during the pandemic. Our TV6's Megan Sanctorum shows us how your donations are being put to good use.
Inside these doors, Project Azul is helping people create a better future for themselves and their families, providing free job training and financial assistance during the pandemic.
It's very helpful. The training is very helpful.
Manny Fabwe is just one of the people taking advantage of a free paid training program through Project Azul, learning everything they need to know for skills-based jobs in the logistics industry.
The logistics industry, while it's shifted during COVID, there's still quite a demand.
Leaders say those who complete this training usually see about a 30% increase in their wages.
As folks have found themselves displaced from their typical work, whether it was hospitality or some other career, we're able to provide them with this short-term training. So our trainings are short, they're 2 to 5 days, so they're very practical in length, and then place them into a job with a quick turnaround.
She says during the pandemic, they've also been able to help underserved populations with things like rent, utilities, and internet access. That's thanks to the United Way funding, a temporary boost while still focusing on their long-term goal of training.
So great to see them increase their quality of life for themselves, for their families, to see that hope and that motivation just continue to grow as they get into these better jobs.
Fabwe says she moved to the U.S. from Haiti, and now she's excited about the future she's creating for her family and generations to come.
I will very, very, very grateful to go up and my education, my future at work, and the way I teach my children to go up my family, and I will be an example for all people.
Working for you, Megan Sanctorum, RTV6.
Through your donations, the United Way is providing more than $23 million to organizations like this. They are expected to announce details on a new long-term COVID rebound campaign soon. Kyle?
And Amanda's soaking up sunshine today and more July heat, making it to around 87 degrees, but it's felt a little better this afternoon. The humidity has continued to come down. Right now, just 40% in Indianapolis. Still enough, though, that over the western portion of the state, it feels like we're in the lower 90s. As we go through the evening forecast, we'll gradually increase the clouds. We're going to keep it dry, though, and temperatures are still in the middle 70s here, even after midnight tonight. As we look at the temperature change here, we are going to see a big pattern change. In fact, temperatures are going to be below average as we go into the upcoming weekend. Now, that change is going to come by way of some showers and thunderstorms that right now are off to the south and west, but we're going to be watching those move our way. I'll have details on when you're going to need the umbrella coming up here in a few minutes. Chris?
Let's start the news feed. More than 200 people have died from COVID-19 at state-run veterans' homes. A congressional watchdog group says the federal government's to blame. The Government Accountability Office saying the VA failed to require inspections at 148 state-run homes. A Texas congressman who refused to wear a mask has tested positive for COVID-19. Republican Louis Gohmert tested positive before he was supposed to fly with President Trump today. He returned to Capitol Hill instead. He is the 10th lawmaker in Congress to test positive. The U.S. Postal Service could borrow billions from the government for pandemic relief. The Treasury has made $10 billion available. The Postal Service has had issues competing with private delivery services, as well as handling its pension program. Now, we continue to learn more about the long-term effects of COVID-19 on our bodies. More clinics are now opening to help patients after they leave the ICU. And they're looking at the long-term physical issues like shortness of breath, chest pain, and difficulty moving because of a loss of muscle mass. Now, they've been surprised about the mental impacts as well, especially in young people.
We certainly have some that are elderly, but we have quite a few that are in their younger years, 40s and 50s and 60s, who are experiencing pretty serious effects of delirium in the hospital. And the long-term consequences of that are pretty severe because it's not common for younger people to have that experience.
Now, she's a psychologist who sees patients at the new post-COVID clinic at UC San Francisco, and she says with delirium, people can be haunted by memories from the hospital and trying to understand why they happen. Patients telling her that they felt like they were in a prison or were being attacked, and the team has also seen high rates of PTSD symptoms.
I think that a lot of what we are doing is listening to people empathically and validating their experience and telling them and sharing with them that they're not alone and that this is real and this is not in your head.
She says that she tries to give her patients hope by sharing COVID survival stories with them and connecting them with support groups so they know they aren't alone. Now, to get connected with a clinic like this, you can contact the academic medical center that's closest to you. Let's get back to our lineup. A new debate is reemerging over the federal minimum wage. We are looking at how likely it is for lawmakers to raise the minimum wage.
Returning safely back to school applies whether your child is learning at home or in a school building. However, concerns about unreported child abuse continue as many children will keep learning at home. RTV6's Kelsey Anderson continues our Safely Back to School week with what you can do to protect kids.
In March, when the pandemic started, Call 6 Investigates found that there was an 11% decrease in calls to the DCS hotline, a statistic that is still concerning to child advocates across the state.
Here we go again, or here we go still.
Sandy Runkle with Prevent Child Abuse Indiana says as things remain closed and children remain at home, they are pushing the same message.
If there is going to be, continued stay-at-home measures, then we're just asking people to continue to be vigilant.
She says if you suspect a child is being mistreated, you should call DCS at 1-800-800-556.
Everyone is essential in keeping children safe. And go ahead and make that report if you have concerns, because it could just be a situation where the family just does need some extra resources or some extra support.
Runkle says not to worry about if you are wrong, just follow your gut feeling.
If you think about it, you do want to be wrong, right? Because that means that the child's safe and the family's doing okay. But that's something that isn't for us to make that judgment.
Indiana is a mandatory report state, which means by law, if you suspect a child is being abused or neglected, you are required to call the DCS hotline. That number is 1-800-800-5556. I'm Kelsey Anderson, RTV6.
This month marks 11 years since the last federal minimum wage increase. Economists are at odds over another increase during the current crisis. Ryan Borden with the Cato Institute says raising the wage could exacerbate problems that were brought on by the pandemic.
The big problem then is that if you then fundamentally raise the cost of their labor by raising the federal minimum wage in states where that would have an impact, then you're further increasing the business's cost, which is likely to make more businesses fail and actually result in fewer jobs being available for low-wage workers.
Borden points out that 29 states and D.C. have already raised the minimum wage past the federal cutoff. He says many consumers do have income, but they're less willing to spend it right now. Now, for those that are on unemployment, moving into a new industry could be more difficult if businesses are further strained.
So this seems like a particularly bad time to raise the cost of hiring people by having a higher hourly wage rate, because it actually might deter some of that adjustment that we need to live with this virus.
That kind of concern has always been raised when we're talking about raising the minimum wage, and it doesn't seem to actually play out in reality. So I don't expect it to be a big deal now.
Ben Zipper is with the Economic Policy Institute, and he argues a minimum wage hike could actually boost economic activity.
giving people more money so they have more money to spend. That's probably, one of the most effective policies during a kind of depression, which we're essentially in right now.
He says a minimum wage hike would only move us in the right direction, not solve all our economic problems. He says our first priorities should be unemployment benefits and funding for local and state governments. Let's take another look at our lineup here. Parents are banding together to educate their kids in small groups. What they say are the keys to success and how they suggest that you can start doing this in your neighborhood. Holocaust survivors are urging Facebook to remove content that denies the Holocaust happened. Now, that includes removing Holocaust-denying groups, pages, and posts, and to classify them as hate speech. Survivors also want videos to be removed from Instagram and Twitter. Now, Mark Zuckerberg, he has addressed this concern before. He says, while it is offensive, this type of content should only be removed if it is causing harm or violence. Let's start the newsfeed. Boeing is slowing down plans because of the impact that this pandemic is having on that company's bottom line. It will cut production on the 787 and 777 jet programs that are two of their biggest. It'll also delay plans to bring back the 737 MAX that, of course, has been grounded for some time after those two deadly crashes. Now, as colleges figure out what they're going to do in the fall, Purdue is closing its MBA program. Now, the school says, yes, the pandemic's having an impact on it, but the pandemic really sped up the decision because they had been struggling with low demand. And they say other universities are looking at making the same change as well. Well, screen time, that's a big concern for parents. And Common Sense Media says in a new report that's out today, you should really focus more on the quality of what your kids are watching, not necessarily the quantity. They point to teens having limited access to interaction and learning during the pandemic. Resorts across the country say they are booked this summer despite coronavirus fears. Usher Qureshi went to one town to find why people are making the trip.
Located along the shores of Lake Michigan, the resort town of South Haven is a drivable oasis for busy urban dwellers looking for a quick escape.
People are friendly, you have the water, you have the boats. It's almost like going to New England in 2.5 hours.
The tourism economy here brings in about $85 million worth of revenue to the area each year.
Lodging represents a little over 20% of the total spend when visitors come in.
But the pandemic shutdown wiped out 10 weeks of business. Revenues for the beachfront community were down 90%. John Marple is owner of the Old Harbor Inn.
They essentially put us out of business.
Forced to lay off his entire staff, he lost 20% of his gross income. Federal stimulus dollars, he says, helped him keep from going under. But once the state allowed for reopening in early June, business began booming. It took just days for rooms to completely sell out through July and into August.
The online reservations just blew up. I had the highest sales month I ever had in June of this year.
It's so busy, Marple has removed the inn from travel sites like Expedia and Bookings.com. Today, the town is bustling. Beaches completely full. Housekeeping can barely keep up with the enhanced disinfecting process.
Right now, it takes us approximately 45 minutes longer to properly prepare a room for a new guest.
Door stickers now indicate when a room has been cleaned and that no one has been inside. But rising COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations in many states are changing consumer attitudes towards travel plans.
With so many visitors coming in from, in some cases, hotspots from around the state or around the Midwest and so forth, how long can we stay safe?
According to a travel survey conducted this month by Longwoods International, 76% of travelers say they will change their plans because of coronavirus, up from 69% at the beginning of June. And 45% say they will cancel trips completely, up from 37%.
We have seen a rash of cancellation.
While the current increase in tourism has helped recover some losses, another shutdown, Marple worries, could be devastating to the seasonal businesses here.
I do worry that business may not return like it has in the past. I think this is going to be an issue for quite some time.
In South Haven, Michigan, I'm Usher Qureshi.
And if you're looking for an Indiana beach getaway, don't go to Gary. Gary has closed its beaches to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. Police started patrolling along Lake Michigan today to enforce a temporary beach closure order. It's set to last at least 2 weeks. Kyle.
And if you need to get some of that yard This evening might be your best bet because rain chances are going up, and that's going to make that yard work a little challenging over the next few days. In fact, as we look at the rain chances on Thursday, you can see they go up quickly into the likely category here for a good chunk of the day, and TrueCast confirms that. By 7 o'clock Thursday morning, any showers for the morning drive going to be very light and spotty, and for the kids there at the bus stop. As we go through mid-morning, though, you see that heavier rain filling in, and the best chance for that's going to be south of Interstate 70, not expecting any severe weather. And then I think as we get into the evening commute here, most of the rain will be over the southeastern portion of the state and pushing out from there. But look at the sharp cutoff on that rainfall potential. Could see about a half inch of rain near I-70, much less to the north, and could see areas getting over 2 inches of rain there to the south. 7-day planning forecast, we've got a chance for showers and thunderstorms daily with some cooler highs in the 70s and 80s. Chris?
Our goal all this week is to help families decide how to get safely back to school. We continue helping you today with the growing trend of parents creating their own small neighborhood classes. If you've heard about it, you'll want to hear what our Alicia Nieves found it takes to make this successful.
On March 13th, our kids jumped off the bus all together. There's 9 of them in our neighborhood. They had 2 weeks off, but that turned into the rest of the school year.
Jennifer Quadrosi in North Andover, Massachusetts, and her 7-year-old daughter spent the end of the school year and all summer social distancing with a group of parents and kids in their community.
We call ourselves kind of the bubble.
To keep her daughter still protected in their bubble, she has become one of many parents around the country considering micro-schooling for the upcoming school year.
Right now, there are 3 families that are considering it, and that age range would be from 1st grade to 3rd grade. And we would follow the curriculum that was developed by our community and our schools.
With micro-schooling, a few families joined together to create a homeschooling pod. Quadrosi's playroom will become their pod's classroom.
But we're going to line up desks along this area.
And they'll likely pay an educational facilitator to teach the children.
That could be anyone from a retired teacher to a teacher's aide or a teacher that got laid off.
One of the concerns around homeschooling pods is that there are many parents who can't afford to pay someone else to teach their kids. But there are some parents who are finding a way to make homeschooling pods more affordable.
I am a stay-at-home mom, and I'm very fortunate to be able to do that, and I realize not everyone is. But the other parents that are in this pod are working parents.
Gintel La Rochelle's pod has each parent teaching their group of 5 kids 1 day a week, making it more cost-effective and freeing up time for some parents to work.
If this is something that parents really want to do, the options are there for them. It just takes a little bit of creativity.
Pods can be formed organically with your friends and family, or there are Facebook groups now forming in almost every state around the country where parents are making connections. These 2 moms have learned, though, the key to creating a pod is starting your search early. You'll need time to talk with other parents that may be in your group about mostly creating a new set of rules or pact for your pod, especially around social distancing outside the created classroom. Because the main reason for microschooling is to give kids some socialization while reducing their health risks.
My genuine hope is that this is just a one-year thing.
I'm Alicia Nieves reporting.
Alicia, thank you. Now, there's new evidence COVID-19 could have a lasting effect on heart health as well. New studies in the journal JAMA Cardiology show the virus can stay in the heart for months. MRIs on patients in one study 2 to 3 months after they were diagnosed showed signs their heart muscles were inflamed. Now, this may not cause any physical symptoms, but there could be a risk for future heart damage. All right, finally, in our lineup today, businesses are showing off their cleaning procedures as they try to assure people it is safe to come back. Why there are some concerns that this is creating a false sense of security with COVID-19. Businesses are trying to bank on how clean their stores and restaurants are as a way to bring you back. You may have seen some advertisements, for example, gyms showing off how spotless their equipment is. Buses and subways are being deep cleaned. Thousands of people are still using them to get to work. New York City went as far as testing UV light to clean. But there are some concerns that these efforts, it creates a false sense of security.
Absolutely a false sense of security. Even the CDC now says that that's not the way the virus is spread.
Dr. Emmanuel Goldman is a microbiology professor at Rutgers, and he says we are slowly learning how the virus spreads.
We now have evidence from many sources, plus the kind of analysis that I published in my comment, that indicates that we don't have a great deal to worry about from inanimate objects and from surfaces.
Today, most evidence points to the virus spreading through aerosol droplets that are spread from person to person. And Dr. Goldman says the number one thing that we should all be doing is wearing that mask.
I think masks are the single most effective thing that we can do to protect ourselves and protect others. And frankly, if it was universally used, I think we'd be much further along in controlling this pandemic.
Now, if you choose to go into a public space like a gym, restaurant, or public transportation, people should also be social distancing. Now, if a COVID-19 outbreak occurs at a school, will people know how to respond? Tomorrow, we'll take a look at what the CDC suggests schools do and why, when parents get notified, may depend on where you live.
Wrapping up July here in the next couple of days. A lot of summer heat in that 7-day forecast, and that'll be because of a daily chance of showers and thunderstorms, keeping those highs in the 70s and 80s as we begin August. Thanks for joining.